If you own a home with a basement, you're probably familiar with this setup. This is a window well that allows them to grade above the window itself. If your land slopes like mine does, the further you get up the slope, the deeper these window wells become. That first one was about 4 feet deep. This one's about 4.5 feet deep. And this one up here is pushing 5 feet. These can be a little bit troublesome to get out of if you've got something going on down in the basement, such as a fire or other catastrophe, and you need to get out of here. Unless you've got a pretty decent vertical leap, you're going to struggle getting out of these window wells. Now they do make window well ladders. See, my neighbor has got one right here, and those are nice. You could actually build one of those if you've got some fabrication tools, and some welding, and a few other things like that. But I'm going to show you what I've come up with, and it's a real cheap and easy fix for this problem. So let's go get started. As a starting point, if we look at ladders, I've got an assortment of step ladders and an extension ladder here, and the distance averages, or this might be in industry standard, but it's about 12 inches from rung to rung, whether we're looking at that extension ladder or this step ladder or even this step ladder here. So we're going to use that as our basis when we install these ladders. So the general concept of this window well ladder is this. Let's say that these two lines here represent that window well. And the way this is designed to work is we're going to use this corner here, and we're going to create a rung that goes across here. Of course, this is the inside of the window well. This is the outside, and this is looking down, kind of a bird's eye view. So we're going to generate a rung to go across there, and that rung is going to attach to the window well itself. It's not going to have a strap or any other support system where it just hangs down in there. We're actually going to screw this to the metal in the window well itself. I've done this to one window already. This was a prototype, and for the window wells that we're working on today, this one's just a little bit shorter. I'm going to make it about 1.5 inches to 2 inches longer. What I'm trying to achieve here is roughly 4 inches. Yes, that's supposed to be a 4 between here and here. That's basically, you know, from where your toes are to where your toes bend back in your foot. I want to have enough room in there so you can actually put your foot in there and stand on it. So I'm shooting for roughly 4 inches, give or take. Building these window well ladder rungs is real simple and doesn't require a whole lot of specialized tools. You could essentially do this with a hacksaw, a hammer, and a drill. For mine, I'm using chain link top rail. I have a bunch of this at the house, so it's easy for me to use. I think you could also get by using some heavy walled 1-inch electrical conduit as well. Let's face it, these things will probably never be used in a perfect world. They might be used by teenagers sneaking out of the house at night while you're sound asleep, but hey, we can't prevent that no matter how hard we try. So I got my blanks cut at the cutoff saw, and went ahead and just cleaned off the edges where I had some burrs sticking out. I did that with my angle grinder, but if you're cutting these with a hacksaw or anything else, you could use a file as well. Next step is to find basically the opposing sides here. So what I've done is I've just eyeballed and put a mark on opposite sides here. And with those marks, I'm going to create a couple of reference lines that I'm going to use for the bending process. What I've got here is just a piece of plywood, and I'm using it so that I can lean the pipe up against it, and on that reference mark I'm going to take my marker here and just give myself a line on this end, and then not changing the way I'm holding my marker, I'm going to just mark the other end as well. And I'm going to rotate it. So now I've got my reference mark here, and again I'm just going to take and draw a line here and draw another line down there. Now I want to create a mark at 1 inch on each end. That's where the bend will occur. And this is just a reference, so it doesn't need to be centered between those two lines that indicate the side. The next step is just put it in the vise, or if you don't have a vise, you can do all of this with a sledgehammer and smash it on something hard. Just don't smash your fingers. We all know that hurts. So I'm going to put this in the vise, and here's my 1 inch mark right there. So it's going to line up right at the top. And then I'm just going to eyeball these two center lines that run down the length of the pipe. And I'm going to roughly get those centered. This is level, this is plumb. You may not be able to tell that from camera angle. Now, if it's off a couple of degrees one way or the other, or you're off 16th here, or a 64th there, it's not going to ruin the project. Okay, so now I'm just taking my vise and just smash that down. There, I've got my 1 inch mark right there so that everything lined up. I'm just going to take this and just bend it roughly 45 degrees. Doesn't have to be perfect, because when you're putting this in the window well, you've got the hole, everything will kind of work its way out in the end. And I'm just going to repeat that process now to the other side. And at this point, I'm going to kind of use that first bend that I got just to eyeball this line right here and make sure that I'm close enough. So I'm just going to rotate it there. Everything looks good. It's roughly vertical. So okay, there we go. Bend this down. Just eyeballing 45 degrees. That piece is ready to go. Just got to drill a couple of holes in here, and it'll be ready to install. Okay, we're at the last stage before we get ready to install these. Taken the rungs and just found the center point here. Went from corner to corner, drew an X in there, and then I took a center punch and marked the center there. So I've got this set up in my drill press. You could do this with a hand drill. Just sometimes when you have tools like this, you got to justify owning them. So with the screws, I've got a couple of different varieties. These are just in my screw bin. These are all self-tapping screws, so I could probably with enough muscle get away without even pre-drilling these holes here. So I'm going to use what I've got, and I don't have enough to do all the window wells, so I'm going to have to run to the store regardless. So I'm going to drill a 1/4 inch hole in there, and then we'll head to the window well and install these. I'm down in the window well, and I'm trying to decide which one of these corners I want to put this ladder in. On one corner it comes up and there's an overhang here, which is part of the fireplace chimney, and on the other side, just outside of the window well, is the air conditioning unit. So I'm going to pick the lesser of two evils, and we'll put it on this side. So this first rung is going to be about 14 inches off the ground. Again, I'm putting it on the ridge that goes to the inside here. That way it gives me a little extra toe room here. And I am just splitting the difference. I'm kind of using the bends here in this window well as my guide. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's going to be just about right here. So I'm going to mark these roughly where they need to be, and then I'll go ahead and use those self-tapping screws that I've got. Since I forgot my ratchet, I'm just using this drill as a handle to snug those up. I don't want to go too tight because this metal is actually a lot thinner than you'd think. That's less than 1/16 of an inch thick. So those will probably strip out if you go all He-Man on them. First rung is in, and now I'm going to use this measurement over here off of the foundation to that rung as a guide for my next one. So that's at 9.5. So for our next one, it's going to be on that piece right there. Alright, got 2 of them in. Got 1 more to go for this window well. Be right up there, about halfway between this one and the top. But I'm all out of screws, so that's off to the hardware store I go. Well, I'm back from the hardware store, and I've got all 3 rungs in this window well. So this one's all finished, and got a few more to do. So thanks for watching.